here with some special guests from South Africa. Now, I know you remember Dr. LaTasha Blanton from the last interview. She is part of the company, The Real South Africa, and also the esteemed woman that's sitting there. Her name is Nthabi. I'm making sure I say her name right, ladies and gentlemen, because I don't want to get in trouble when I see her in September. So, ladies, thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having us. Much appreciated.
All right, so let me start off with Dr. LaTasha. It's been a little while since we spoke, and you know what's going on new in South Africa and how things are progressing.
Things are progressing well. South Africa is always a playground. There's always something to do, and right now we're just spending most of our time making sure that things are going to go perfect for your trip when you come in September. And we're just looking forward to hosting you guys and showing you everything that South Africa has to offer, including the people like Nthabi, the culture, the lifestyle, and of course the food that accompanies being here in South Africa. The food, right? The food. It's a good thing. So this is Nthabi. I'll let her tell you a little bit about herself. And I brought her on with me today because she is one of our friends in South Africa. She is amazing and we love her, but I just wanted you guys to meet her so that you can understand that here in South Africa, there are real people that want to meet fellow African Americans and just kind of share their experiences of being a true South African with other African Americans. So tell a little bit about yourself.
What's interesting?
Well, your name, first of all.
Oh, yeah. My full name is Nthabi Taukobong. Nthabi means bring joy into my life. And Ntombizonke means representative of all girls because my family only has boys. And Taukobong, which is my surname, means lion in the blanket.
I love it.
But a lion in the blanket is a calm, peaceful lion. So it's a more relaxed lion, leisurely lion, not out on the prowl yet. So, by profession, I'm an interior designer specializing in high-end homes and hotels, and I do work throughout the continent. I just happen to be based in Johannesburg, South Africa. I'm a recently published author of a book, The Real Interior, and just trying to connect with people around the world and just share the magnificence of the country that we're in.
So that's the short version. Her resume is actually a lot longer than that, but that's the short version. So we kind of asked Nthabi to be on here with us because we wanted you to understand that she's passionate about her country. She loves our passion for the country. And I think that the last time we spoke, you were saying that there are a lot of things that we're doing here in the country that you were following. So we can just tell the people a little bit about that.
What happens is, obviously, in any country you live in, you just get used to going to the local shop, the school, and sometimes a clinic, and that's it. You don't see much. You don't get to travel. But through your platforms, I'm getting to see so much more. And also the curiosity to say, oh my God, this is all in our country. So through you, I'm learning more about my own country and becoming my own tour guide through what you're offering.
I appreciate that. And, you know, they get tired of hearing us say it all the time. Phil hears us say it all the time, and he echoes the same sentiments about why people need to come to South Africa or just come to Africa in general. Why would you say people need to visit South Africa?
I've traveled the world and there's nothing like coming home to Africa. And South Africa just has this heartbeat, the spirit, this Ubuntu, and I'm sure you've heard about it, this, how we take care of each other, how my brother is your brother and my sister is your sister. We're family. And when you come home to South Africa, you're just coming home to what resonates in your essence. The people are so warm, loving, receptive, welcoming. The food, the weather, I mean, the rand to dollar. It's just like nothing.
Not the rand to dollar. Not the rand to dollar. So that's a little bit.
But it's beautiful. It's a really amazing place to be. And I know the perception is we're third world, but really it's an amazing experience. We have first world experiences here too. And we live relatively first world lifestyle. So if you're curious, come on over. Our doors are open and we're more than willing to receive you and host you the African way.
All right, so let me talk to Nthabi a little bit. You are a interior designer, and you are definitely more so on the higher end luxury side. So, what if you have a brother or sister that's here, and they say, you know what, man, I wouldn't mind going to the continent. I have the skill, could they get plugged in, right in South Africa, or what city do they need to get plugged in? I would say, if they are interior design and they want to maybe possibly, start something on the continent.
Oh, absolutely. I think entry level is much easier here. So everybody's welcome. I'm in Johannesburg, but interior design services are needed throughout the country. I just happen to be in the city of gold because obviously what we do is a luxury and we want to be where the money is.
Okay, so you said now Dr. LaTasha said that you're very, very passionate about South Africa. What made you passionate about your country? Because for me, when I see brothers and sisters leaving the continent to come here to America, a lot of times I look at it like I understand, the economic reasons, but I'm like, you guys have your own country. In America, we're treated like fifth class citizens here. I mean, even dogs have more rights than Black Americans, to be honest with you, if you really get down to the nitty gritty. So why is it that you have a love for your country?
Oh, my country is amazing. It's beautiful. Obviously, we've got our problems. We're working through them. And I just belong here. I think it's very important to have a sense of belonging to a place. And this is where my roots are. So I might travel around the world, but I'll always come back to South Africa. It's my family's here. My love, my creativity, my passion, my roots, my ancestral lineage is here. This is where everything makes sense. So the world is open to travel, but nothing beats being home.
Right. So, Dr. LaTasha, we looked at Ghana. They had the year of return, and that was very, successful for them. What is South Africa doing, either to match that? Are they going to do something like that? Are you privy to that?
I'm not privy to it. I know we've talked to them about that before. They're trying to figure out a way to get that going because the bottom line is South Africa's infrastructure is one of the best on the entire continent. So it doesn't make sense that they wouldn't get on board. They're just trying to figure out how to make that work. And until they get it together, my job and Nthabi's job right now is to do the best that we can at a grassroots level to show everyone that South Africa really is first world, as she just said, and that anything that you can think of doing, being, becoming, want to do, the opportunity is absolutely here, and it's more abundant in South Africa than it is on any country on the continent.
Okay, so when someone from the diaspora, let's say, come to South Africa, because I always ask questions about a lot of propaganda on purpose during these interviews, because it's one thing to ask Dr. LaTasha that question, but I'm asking Nthabi this question. There are people in America, unfortunately, and they have not been to the continent, those who saying this. Well, Africans don't like us. That's why some of us don't need to come, over there because they just don't like us. Now, is that true, Nthabi?
But who said that?
Oh, I'm asking you things that people actually say. I'm talking about African Americans, some African Americans, not all. But
no. Africans as a people, we love Africans from everywhere around the world. We are hospitable. We have a culture that says Ubuntu, Ngimuntu ngomuntu ngabantu. I am who I am because of you. We cannot now have segregation amongst ourselves. That doesn't make sense. We're welcoming you to our back home so that we can have an understanding of who we are and where we all originated from. So who are we to turn away from each other? We don't have that. I don't have that. Definitely.
No.
Right. And like I said, the reason part of my questions when I come, like say, listen, my mindset is totally different than some people, but what I'm trying to do is use these conversations to break down those, falsehoods and lies and propaganda.
Separation. Some form of separation. We don't have that. We honestly are receiving, but you're only received as much as you are willing to be received, and that's a very important thing because energy is reciprocal, no matter where you're from. So if you come with your entitled mindset, thinking that you're here to come teach us things, then we're going to be a little bit resistant. But if you're willing to learn, engage, and discover who we are, we will be more than open to you.
All right. Yeah, I get what you're saying. You're saying basically, in order to have a friend, you must show yourself friendly. That's 100% accurate. But let's go to the next question, just in Nthabi. Well, some people will say, well, in America, because we got to solve all this, so our brothers and sisters come home. Well, some of them only want us to come back to the continent because they just want our money and our skills. They don't care about us like that. What would you say to those people that bring that up?
Okay, come as you are. No money. Just come as you are, and then feel the spirit, the connection, and the love that Africa has for you. I think it's very short-sighted and myopic to think money determines who you are as a person. And we're about creating real relationships in Africa.
All right, so it's like the church. She just said, "Come as you are, show up, just connect." And this is why I tell a lot of people. I said, just go to the continent first. That's why I tell
Yeah.
people you got to go there first. And once you go there, then I don't have to tell you nothing no more. I mean, you're on your own because it's like the connection with the land. It's like it does something to you spiritually. It's nothing that you could really physically describe. That's how I would say about it. Um,
Are
but
also doing their own thing. We're also making our own money. We're not relying on US dollars to make it in life. We've been carrying on with or without it. So the most important thing is to connect and build relationships, and that's what we want you to understand about us.
And that's beautiful. Like I said, for me, I understand this, but I'm just trying to just get our brothers and sisters, the ones that may be just on that last little propaganda. That's why we ask you great questions like this. So when you see, Dr. LaTasha and Mark bringing in people from the diaspora to South Africa, and they coming to learn, they're coming to share and enjoy themselves. What kind of impact that you've seen on both sides with that versus the South Africans versus those from diaspora coming in?
I think the biggest thing is the eye opener, just the wonder of, oh my gosh, there are no animals around the street. This is real connections. There's people, there's homes, we're building relationships. We're building a future that is more open, and the connections are real. And I just think the satisfaction of people who come here is just so genuine, and also love we have for them is it's something that you need to experience for yourself by getting here and seeing it for yourself.
All right, Dr. LaTasha, let me ask you a question about some of that. I know you guys have been doing a lot of recent tours, and you have this one coming up definitely with us in September. The
Mhm.
people that's going, like, I know you say you got some other things on the side you don't want to talk about, and I don't want to even get you to talk about it, but
Okay.
the experience itself, for those that may be new that came in after we last interviewed,
Mhm.
what do as a Black American, what experience that they possibly going to happen to them when they go?
What's going to happen, or what has been happening and been occurring throughout all of the experiences that we offer, is that everyone says they should have come sooner. They feel like they've been lied to their entire life, because you and I both know that the propaganda, the media, white supremacy is a very real thing, whether you're on this continent or the one in America. And they're doing a really good job of keeping us divided. Once you get here, you realize that this is where, not necessarily where you should have been all along, but at least on the continent, you should have been here amongst people that look like you, like the same things as you, are interesting like you are smart, educated, and have a real drive and motivation to connect with you. I'm not saying that they miss us or that we miss them, but once you get here, you feel like you found some long lost family or sisters. So that's the running thread, that they really wish that they had just come here sooner, and that they feel like they've been lied to. Because until you come and see it, you don't know you're being lied to on a regular basis. And that's the truth.
And Dr. LaTasha, were you angry when you found out how you were lied to?
I think angry is a nice word. Um, I really felt lost for a very long time, simply because every part of my identity was almost false until I got here and started to do some actual, like, deep soul searching, like trying to figure out what part of my colonized mind I had to decolonize. I'm thankful that Nthabi understands the process and the journey. We've discussed that several times, and having to let go of that anger and just be here and embrace everything that South Africa offers has been amazing for me as a person. And connecting with people like her makes it easier for me to just be Black or African. And that's a nice place to be, when you don't have to think about your Blackness every day. You just get to exist amongst people that feel and think and see you for exactly who you are. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, you're 1,000% right. I tell people I only feel like really just comfortable and just a guy, just a person in the continent of Africa. Because over here you're going to be pointed out as, oh, that's a black man, and everything that come along with it, living in Babylon. I call America Babylon. I mean, the most
Oh
evil
wow.
things happen here in Babylon. You name it, it's happening here in America, or they trying to legalize it. I mean, it's just not a conducive place for family, at all. The black community is really suffering here. I mean, it's just perpetually going down. And I'm the type of person, I've said this, I'm not for investing my whole life into something I see as failing. It
Right.
just doesn't make sense. Even on the business level, it doesn't make sense. So, I'll say, at least for me, we, have our, plans on how we're gonna, get to the continent and do different things there. My main thing is trying to find the country that works well for, my family, and also works well in business. So let's talk about
Absolutely.
business. Let's talk about business, because that's an interesting conversation. So if you have a business here in America, um, how is it, or how easy could it be to transfer some of your business over to South Africa?
Is that a question for me or for Nthabi?
Probably in Nthabi, if she knows more. Well, she's in business, she knows.
Yeah, she's in business too. She's an entrepreneur. So I'll give my spill and then she can kind of say her take on it. I would say that whatever you have as an entrepreneur and a business owner in America, they still need that skill here. As long as you're coming to add to the continent, like you asked her about if an interior designer wanted to come here, they need those here. She's a hook, for lack of a better term. She knows people. It's easy to network here and get your foot in doors that you wouldn't necessarily be able to do in America. So if you have a business there, whether you want to expand your business into Africa, or if you want to uproot your business and just run it out of Africa, however you want to do it, the possibility is there. And that's my take on it.
From my experience, I also find that there's no glass ceiling here, and the sky's the limit. There's room for growth. There's room for anybody to start a business and succeed here. There's no underlying current that's already starting you at a negative. So we are all about entrepreneurship, and we encourage it, and we welcome it, and we want to build global companies.
So if a person starts a business there, and maybe Dr. LaTasha knows about this, being a Black American, um, could you get a permanent residency by establishing a business?
That I can't 100% say that that's how you would do it, but I do know that establishing a business or buying a home is not a surefire way to establish permanent residence. There's a process, and you cannot do that process. If there's one thing South Africa is hard on, it's the way they process things. So there's a way to navigate that process, maybe a little bit faster, but you do still have to go through the process of establishing permanent residence, showing that you're going to be able to sustain yourself. And if you're going to sustain yourself through a business, they want to see that make a profit, X, Y, and Z, and then you can kind of move forward on that. So that would be my take on how to establish a permanent residency. It's not going to be, oh, I started a business here, give me permanent residence. It doesn't work that way.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is you have to, show that, hey, well, my money comes from X, Y, and Z. I don't need any government services or anything like that from you. Uh,
Mhm.
I just want to be here in the country. That's basically what you're saying?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So there's people in the diaspora say this in America, and maybe both of you could possibly answer this question. Well, let's say, how are we going to come home if we don't have the chance to come home when it's kind of hard at times to get a residency or citizenship? Because some countries, it takes a long time to get it. I mean, what would you say, to that?
I would say before you start talking like immediate citizenship, and I understand that Ghana gave people citizenship this year, and that's all well and good. But for South Africa, it makes sense. I mean, you get a 90-day visa. I wouldn't suggest to anyone to come and say, I want to live in South Africa if you've never visited. So if you get to the point where you've established a relationship like we did, we've been coming since 2010. And then we moved in 2018. We established a relationship, made connections with people, and then started the process to becoming residents. So it's not that I would say just come home. I'm saying, yes, come, but you wouldn't just buy a house without looking at it first. It's the same thing. You wouldn't marry someone without dating them. It's the same thing. Develop a relationship by coming on trips like the one we have in September, meeting people, networking, establishing some type of connections here on ground, and then make a decision after several visits if you want to establish that. Then you can start the process, and then you can have a smooth transition, because it's not a quick transition. I mean, it took us a couple years of planning to get here. So it's not flash to bang when coming here, because you really want to make sure that you're set and that you're not going to be a burden on this economy. You need to be able to take care of yourself once you're here. And the only way to do that is to make sure you leave the country that you're in properly.
Right. And see, you're the perfect person to ask the question. I always tell people to have their Africa plan, right? And no, I tell them all the time, you need to have an Africa plan. I'm a firm believer of do not get so set here in the United States and you don't have, no option to go, to the continent. You have none. You like, 'cause there's no telling what will go on in this country. Seriously, from day to day.
100% true.
Yeah, you know that. So you said basically you win 2010, you got connected then, but it took you to about 2018 before you say, you know what, I'm gonna go over there. So between 2010 and 2018, not exactly what you did because you got your personal issues, but what were you actually preparing within your Africa plan at the time, the transition from 2010 to 2018 when you guys to finally say, now I'm there?
Well, what we were doing to prepare was we were making several trips. So every chance that we had an opportunity, because we were entrepreneurs back in the States as well, we would take 1 month, 2 months, and we would come here and stay and just get a lay of the land, get an idea of the people, where we wanted to stay. Like I told you before, we spent 2 months on the continent between Cape Town and Joburg trying to decide if we were going to live in Cape Town or Johannesburg. We chose Johannesburg. And then from that moment, which was in 2013, basically we started doing the backwards math. Like, we need to make sure we have money to do this. We're going to need to make sure that we have a house. We're going to need to make sure that we have cars. So once we did that, we just made a firm plan. And then at that point, sold all of our assets in the States. That way we knew we were hardcore coming. And then came to this side, and after we sold everything on that side, took that same money and established ourselves here. And we also sold our businesses that we had as well. So our plan involved liquidating a lot of our assets. A lot of people that we find want to straddle the fence, and I'm not suggesting that's a bad idea, but it's difficult to maintain a mortgage in the States saying, oh, I'm going to rent out my house and come to South Africa, which is why I'm like, if you're going to straddle the fence, then come for a couple of visits, buy a house, rent it out here, rent it out there. But there's a lot of ways for you to get here. It doesn't have to be my plan. This is just, what we did. We liquidated everything on that side so it could be here full time.
Okay, so basically, and it's beautiful you're talking about this. She didn't make a decision on emotion. She made a decision on careful planning, because it's true. I agree with you 100%. You need to go to a country more than just even a week and kind of see if you can get acclimated. If you could, how would you shop at the grocery stores? How would you move around with the doctors, or, how that's going to be? You really need to know. I mean, the good, the bad, the super great, the ugly, you need to know it all and see if that could fit in with you.
And we did that. And we really did that. We made a lot of friends while we were here. We asked about things like doctors, what types of hospitals, what's the best car to buy here versus in the States. We bought a car here that we would have never bought in the States. We love it. It works perfect. So just things that we were doing along the way, like asking the right questions, making sure that when we got here that we were not going to be a burden, and that we'd be able to add to the economy by having people come over, and that we could spend our time connecting with people that we met along the way, and of course establishing relationships with people like Nthabi, which is what we spend our time doing, so that we can share those things with the people that come on trips. Because if they're thinking about making the move, I would like for them to understand that, we can easily be a conduit for you, but you've got to come properly. You can't come and say, hey, hell, I want to move to South Africa. Can you help me? I can help you, but there's a process that you have to go through too. You've got to literally do a lot of planning. You can't just, move here in 90 days. It doesn't work that way.
Right. And then Nthabi, let me ask you a question. Definitely about the legacy of apartheid. You know, you guys about 25 years out of that. And, you know, during apartheid, I remember, you know, brothers and sisters right here was very angry and upset about what was going on in South Africa. And, you know, they would speak against it, you know, boycott, you know, different things that was happening here in the States, was happening in South Africa. And I personally believe that we can understand South Africans a lot more due to the system that you guys had lived in. But could you tell us a little bit, like, post apartheid South Africa? We still hear some issues and problems. How are you guys transitioning out of that? Or are you still dealing with some of the racism that, like maybe like we'll deal with? You know, can you talk about that?
It's a very interesting question. I think racism will always be there. There'll always be faults that we find with each other, be it sexism, be it racism, be it religion, and South Africa is non different. The only thing is because ours was such a clear cut line of black and white and what we had to go through, it's probably more dealt with than it has been anywhere else in the world. But the issues, the underlying issues are still there, but we're strong. We're a strong nation and we're able to deal with them now. There are really strong repercussions for anybody who shows any signs of apartheid behavior or discrimination of any sort that is really strongly handled. But our children don't have to go through what we went through. I mean, I was born in the apartheid era. I went to school in the townships. Well, when there was schooling, because most of the time it's just schools on fire because we were against that system of learning. But now to be able to see my son go to school and communicate in a way that I never knew was possible shows that we've got progress happening. And I think South Africa can be a beacon of light for America, definitely, in terms of how to deal with such horrific discrimination of anything, of people to people. It's nonsensical, and we can't allow that as a culture to continue any further.
Okay, well, let me ask you something else, Nthabi, about China, because I want you to dispel something. I know I know the answer, but I'm gonna let you talk about it. Some people would say, well, the Chinese are taking over the African continent. So let's say in South Africa, is the Chinese taking over South Africa?
I think the Chinese are taking over the world. So it's a very scary reality, and I do think Africa has to wake up.
Okay, so do you feel they're taking over your country, or you feel like there are too many coming in? I mean, what I need to expound on that, because I mean it's kind of open ended.
I'm trying to stay politically away, but I would say this, that the Chinese have things that we all need. And it's a very fine line to saying, are they taking over or are they giving support where it's needed? Africa has been very slow in recovering infrastructure, in moving forward. So when China comes along and dangles opportunities, systems, labor, it's a difficult line to say, no, don't come in, but we need the help. So we just have to manage what China does in Africa a little bit more tightly so that we can make sure that there is no takeover of a continent that is still recovering from such a history of pain.
All right. So with that being said, and this is what I tell, you know, Black Americans, and say, yeah, Chinese taking over, but this is my thing. Why don't you go over there and offer your skills and your help, and the Chinese won't take anything over because you're there?
Yes, yes. So that's why we're cautious of what we say, because if you're going to speak out, then you better be ready to do something else about it. There's no need just to be having loud trumpets but no actions following it through.
Right.
So we need roads, we need schools, we need hospitals, we need universities, and any help from the world is more than welcome in Africa.
Right. So basically, the diaspora, you know, coming in, just come get acclimated, and let's build up the continent, and then that way we all could, you know, I'm a firm believer in doing for self. And sometimes we have to help our brothers and sisters come in. But I believe if we all, you know, return home for the most part and get acclimated, whatever country it may be, and like I said, you know, build the schools, build the hospitals, build the roads, build the bridges. I believe that the African continent can have the best, you know, 21st century in the world. I really believe they can, but I'm seeing more people coming back, you know, to the continent, and that's what I'm getting excited about more than anything.
please believe us. Everybody's welcome.
Awesome. So, Dr. LaTasha, let me ask you a question, on this. And you said after your transition, you could start staying on a continent, you're there. Do some of your friends and family call you about like still asking you, are you okay? Or are you going to come back? Do they still do that?
They stopped. They stopped asking me that question probably after about the third or fourth month, simply because I had to stop that idea that I was in a place that wasn't safe. I gave them the option to call me and ask me how I was doing and kind of actually genuinely care, but they were not allowed to call me every time they saw something crazy on TV. If they saw part of Africa on fire, they're calling me. I'm like, do you even know where I'm at? Like, get a map. I'm not anywhere close to those things. So just having to educate them kind of stopped the questions of, am I safe? Am I coming back? Because the answer is no, that's not in the cards. I don't have any reason to come back. I get that my family's there, but my life is now here. I made that decision a long time ago. All of my assets are here, and to take the transition back would probably be detrimental to my physical, spiritual, and mental health. And since all three of those are on the up and up right now, I'd like to keep them there.
Yeah, what you just said about your health is an awesome thing, because studies show that racism, white supremacy, is affecting the overall health of African Americans. I mean, I've done a series about how much we sabotaged. I mean, home ownership sabotage, car, you try to buy a car, you sabotage, job, you sabotage. Every area of our lives we're sabotaged in this country. And I present that information to them, and I'm saying it's kind of a no-brainer based on the research what we should do, because in the continent they're not going to just sabotage you because you're black. I mean, obviously they're not going to do that. Everybody black like you. When it comes to home ownership, though, Dr. LaTasha, or even trying to get involved with that because you know more about it. Not to say Nthabi don't know, but transitioning over. I know that America has a system of mortgage and all the different things they have there. If a person moved there and they wanted to, maybe do they do lease? If a person can't buy a home just yet, what would be that option?
I think the best thing to do, so there's lots of options. So you can get a bond, but most people, like Nthabi said, if you're coming to South Africa with American dollars, then at the very least you have the option here, which we usually, I'm not gonna say we don't have in the States, but I know here, if there's a property that's in the process of being built and you want to buy it, you can make a down payment on it and pay on that property for 2 years until it's done. And then that way, when the property's done being built, if you're not done paying on it, then maybe you can get a bond for the other part, or you can just pay it off, or you can flip it. Like, those are options that you have. So making a bond payment every month here in US dollars is not a lot. I mean, it is a lot, but I'm not making fun of the rand. I'm just saying, we're talking about apples and oranges here. So the process to buy a home here is definitely, to me, was much easier than it was for me to buy any of the homes that I purchased back in the States. As long as you've got your funds in order, they'll let you buy a house.
Okay. So, an average home cost is what range in dollars, Dr. LaTasha?
That's gonna depend on where you choose to live. You can buy a apartment like full out for like 80,000 US dollars. You can buy homes, anywhere from 130,000 all the way up to 500,000 US dollars. But you're getting more homes. When I say more home, I mean, like, you can see the wall behind me. It's actually brick. It's not drywall. It's not 2x4s. It's a actual brick home. So when you talk about what you're getting for your money, you get more house for less money. And I know if you go to any of our Facebook pages or Instagram pages or Twitter feeds, you'll see the houses that are available here in South Africa for you to buy. And if you do the conversion, you'll see that a lot of those houses that we're showing you are less than 300,000 US dollars.
Okay. So, we got the trip coming up, and Dr. LaTasha, for those people maybe who knew, how can they, sign up for that trip and possibly go on there? Because according to what I heard, is almost sold out. So how can they do that if they want to jump on it now?
So there are a few spots left. If you are looking to get on the trip, you can send us an email to info@therealsouthafrica.com and just make reference in there, South Africa trip 2020, and we will send you the information. The deposit is $500 and the trip is $5,500 per person sharing, $6,150 for a single. And like I said, there are spots left. We're going to Cape Town and Joburg. We've got a really hot trip planned. So there's a few spots left. I would love to have it full so that you guys can share the camaraderie of South Africa with each other. So that's how they can hop on the trip.
All right. And Nthabi, I heard you the lady to talk to when I get there about the fabric store, correct?
Absolutely. Anything design and decor, I'm your person.
All right, because some people may come, they want to go to the fabric store just as much as I want to go to the fabric store and get some of those good that good South African fabric to make some clothes. So, all right, that's a beautiful thing. So, Dr. LaTasha and Nthabi, it's been very awesome to talk to you guys today and to give us an update of what's going on the continent and also with the trip. You guys, definitely have a blessed. I guess it's evening there right now, correct?
It is evening. It is. One thing I'm going to add, just in case anybody was wondering. So Nthabi or I actually, since the name of her book is The Real Interior and the name of our company is The Real Awakening, The Real South Africa, we started a journey together called The Real Awakening. So we're going to be offering retreats and inspirational things to women. So just be on the lookout for that. So we decided to partner together as a real American and a
real South African
to help women along their empowerment journey. So that's something that you guys can be on the lookout for too. So when you come in September,
much more to
there'll be much more for you, the women on the trip, to get involved in as well. So we've added that as well as a little surprise.
All right, awesome. That's great to hear you guys are partnering and doing something like that, because sometimes ladies take those kind of trips. So we definitely want to thank both of you for joining us today and giving us the information, and you be blessed.
Thank you.